Recently, I had a viewer message me saying they were interested in getting started in video game sound design, and it got me thinking about what I would do and what tools I would get and how I would get started in video game sound design if I had to start over. So with that said, that's what I'm going to make this video about, and I'm going to separate it into 3 stages. So let's start with stage number 1 here, and this is where we're going to start off with the very basics and the bare minimum using free software and free tools that you can find online and around your house. All right, so the first thing you're actually going to need is going to be a computer. So obviously this is not free. I'm going to assume that you have some sort of computer or laptop that you can work on to do your sound design work. So assuming we have that, the next thing you're going to need is a DAW. And for that, I highly suggest looking at Reaper. Now, Reaper is a paid software. It's a paid digital audio workstation, but there is a free trial. And the free trial is actually indefinite. They never actually kick you off. So you could technically use it past the 60 days or however long the free trial is. I don't recommend that because you get so much from the full version. But to get started, that's what I would do. If you eventually don't want to stick with Reaper, then, or you're just not ready to do the paid version, or you want to stop and respect the 60-day free trial, then what I would suggest is moving to Audacity, and that's a free DAW that you can start using, applying effects and things to your sounds. But I highly suggest Reaper and just kind of working with that because it's probably the one that it's most used in the world of video game audio. All right, now that you have your DAW picked out, the next thing you're going to need is some sounds. And because you don't have any sounds, presumably, there's a few places that you can find them. The first place is going to be online, where there's a lot of free websites. You can just Google, where you can get free sounds. The only issue with doing that is that you have to be careful about the user license agreement and just making sure that you're not breaking that or you're not selling or reselling sounds that are not yours. If you're just using those sounds to practice, to make your own designs and things like that, and the world is never going to see the light, it's never going to go out and see the light of day in the world, then it's probably fine and you don't have to worry about it. But if you are planning on selling or putting it into a game or work or anything like that, then you have to be really careful about the end user license agreement. Another way you can get sounds is to just use whatever you have at home that can record sounds and use that to bring into your DAW. So that can be anything from a phone, which is what I used to do when I first got started. I just had my phone. I would record stuff around my house and just put it into my DAW and start playing with that. All right, the next thing that you are going to need is a synthesizer. And the one that I would suggest to use that is free is Vital. And Vital is, I actually have never used it, but I've heard great things about it, heard great reviews, and people even message me about it saying, hey, have you tried it yet? Or have you gone on board or even tested it out? And so I haven't quite done it yet. I really should because it looks like a really fantastic synth. It reminds me very much of Faceplant, which is what I use. So Vital is what I would use, and you can basically learn synthesis by using that, and then you'll have your sound effects, your DAW, you're all set and ready to go. You can use stock plugins and stock effects that are already inside your digital audio workstation and start designing and experimenting that way. All right, so those are all the free tools that I would look at to get started with and start experimenting and just getting yourself familiar with sound design, familiar with audio and how things work. Next is stage 2, and this is where you can kind of start to invest a little bit of money into your gear, into your software, your hardware. And I'm going to give us a little budget of between like $0 and $1,000. It might be a little bit more than that, but basically one of the first things you'll want to invest in is a good pair of headphones and or speakers. Now, I would go with headphones first because they are on the cheaper side. They'll be a lot less expensive. It's also what I did. I just had an inexpensive pair of headphones. I got one for $100, and it's just a big upgrade, a big boost from just using like little tiny computer speakers, because they really are not very good and not made for audio engineering. So good headphones is a good place to start. What I would look at is Sennheisers. Sennheisers are very good. If you want to look at the low end, like the ones I have here are Sennheisers 280 Pro. And if you want to look at a really good high-end, good pair that's going to last you for a very long time, the 650 HDs, I've heard and seen a lot of reviews for those, and those are supposed to be excellent. All right, so along with the headphones, one of the software that I got that was very transformational in my sound design and just all of my audio work was getting Sound ID Reference. And what that is basically a software that basically takes off the frequency response of whatever audio system you have. So if you have speakers, if you have headphones, they each have colored the sound in a specific way, in a unique way. And basically Sound ID will make sure that whatever you're hearing out of your specific, like yours in your room, your specific headphones or your specific speakers, it'll make sure that basically it's as flat as possible so that it can be translated to other speakers into other rooms, that other people, what they're hearing, it sounds the way that you intended it to sound. All right, so that's one of the first things I would invest in. Next is Reaper. Again, just get the paid version. There's 2 tiers for the paid version. One is for if you're making like less than 20,000 a year, and the other one is if you're making more than 20,000 a year from your audio work. So I think the lower tier one is $60, and then you get the full software, all paid for, everything. So that's what I would do next. After that, I would look into getting some sort of handheld recorder, something that you can use to go around your house, go outside, anywhere you go where you can record sound. And the thing that I got started with was the Zoom H6. It's a great handy hand recorder. Nowadays, though, what I would recommend is, if you can find one, is a hand recorder that has 32-bit capabilities. I know, for example, the Tascam Porta Capture X8 and the X6 also have 32-bit float recording capabilities, and that is a game changer when you're recording sound effects, just because you never know, like when you're recording some certain sounds, if they're going to peak, and if it does peak, it can ruin your recording, or you can just like miss out on entirely recording a specific sound that you had in front of you, like whether it's a plane going overhead that you want to record, and if it peaks and ruins your recording, like you can't save that. But with 32-bit, you can. So anyways, it's a huge game changer. It just saves you. It has saved me a lot of time, so I highly recommend it if you can find one that comes with a 32-bit float. So good handheld recorder. All right, the last thing I would invest into for this second stage here is a full suite of plugins, especially if it can be combined with a synth. So for example, what I have and what I've purchased is Faceplant. And with Faceplant, with a complete bundle, you get a whole bunch of different effects that you can either use inside of Faceplant, like modularly, if that's a word. So basically you can like move the effects around, or you can just use them on a track without the synth. So it works in both inside of the synthesizer and both outside of the synthesizer. And then Faceplant has granular synthesis. You can use samplers, you can use wavetables. All right, so it's super flexible, and just having that, it basically gives you the option to basically create almost any kind of sound that you would want to create. Yeah, that's what I would suggest, just because that's what I use. I really like it. And the other two that I would suggest is Vital and or Serum. All right, if at any point in this video you want to check out any of the tools or hardware, software that I mentioned in this video, just make sure to check the description below. I'll make sure to have links down there. All right, let's move on now to stage 3. This is going to be like a professional stage where you can basically have everything you'll ever need to create pretty much any sound and work on any project. All right, so the first thing is going to be to invest into a good pair of studio monitors. This can be just 2 studio monitors. Eventually, you might want to upgrade to something like a 4 or a 5.1 system where you have 4 or 5 different speakers around your room plus your sub, right? So being able to invest in studio speakers is going to be huge. If you do that, and when you do that, one of the things you're going to also need to do is soundproofing, and invest into soundproofing your room. So putting things and sound panels on your wall is going to be something that's super important. That's what I have. You can't actually see it's behind my camera, but that's what I have on my wall. I have some soundproofing there to help with the sound, because I have studio monitors as well as studio headphones. The next thing that you might want to invest in is to start to invest into specific like sound design tools, such as NVK tools. So there's things like NVK Workflow, NVK Create, NVK Auto Doppler. Those are great. I really like using those. Also, anything like Doppler effects, any other kind of specialized sound design plugins, you might want to start looking into those so that you can be more efficient in your work. In terms of sound effects and sound design, depending on the route that you choose to go down and the kind of work that you're going to do, you might want to invest into something like Boom Library, like Complete Ultimate Collection, where you have all of their sound effects in their library, or the Boom One, which is basically the same thing but in a subscription model. And basically you have all the sound effects you could ever want and ever need to use in a project, and then you can of course design your own sounds, layering them together and stuff like that. And if you do go down that route, one of the things you're gonna absolutely need is something like SoundMiner, which is a sound library manager where you can search sounds, organize your sound libraries, and just like find sounds really quickly, transport them or import them into your DAW. It's not a necessary thing, but it's something that can be really helpful. So there's a lot of really good sound libraries, professionally produced sound libraries out there. Everything by Tonestorm is it sounds excellent. I've actually never bought them, but they just sound really good. And yeah, so that's what I would check out. Another one is of course Soundmorph Universe, which is also their like complete bundle version of that. Another place I would recommend to check out is asoundeffect.com. On there, you can find a whole bunch of really awesome sound effects and bundles and things like that. So if you're looking at going down the route where you're not recording your own sound effects anymore, but you just want to purchase sound effects so that you can strictly focus on designing and implementing sounds into games, that might be a route you want to go down. All right, if you still want to be having the flexibility with recording your own sounds, and you still want to be able to record your own sounds as well as maybe using other people's sounds, then one of the things you are going to want to invest in is a really good field recorder. And what I personally use is the Zoom F6. It's a really good 32-bit float field recorder where you can basically have 6 XLR inputs where you can put 6 microphones to record pretty much anything you want. It's excellent field recorder. It's a bit more budget friendly than some other ones, but I know that sound devices are very industry standard. So if you're looking at getting something that's maybe a little bit more expensive, but a bit more standard. So sound devices, Mix Pre 6 Mark IIs, those are supposed to be very good. And then of course you're going to want to look into and invest into good microphones. So for example, I use the Low Music Pros, the EM258s from micboosters.com. I have the Rode NTG5 as my shotgun microphone. I would also look into, depending on your budget, you might want to eventually look into like the Sennheiser MKH series, especially the MKH 8040s or the Sheps microphones, right? So there's a whole bunch out there and they're a lot higher end. I'm not even there yet. I haven't even gone that far out to be able to look into or even afford those microphones just yet, but it's something that you could eventually want to look into if you're interested in getting those. All right, and that's it. Those are the 3 stages, and that's everything I would kind of look to and start to invest in. And just as a note here, I split these up into 3 stages, but really they kind of mix and match. Like there's kind of a blend between each of the stages, and each of those, they kind of take a long time to get to. Like for me, it's been like 10 plus years that I've been doing this, and I'm still haven't fully upgraded all my stuff. Like it's kind of an ongoing thing, an ongoing process based on your needs, based on your work. So don't feel like at any point you need to be at a certain place before you can start getting work, before you can start getting hired. You know, you can start getting hired using all the free gear and all the free software tools if you know how to do the job, right? So it just completely depends on your skill, your ability, your talent, and just how much work you put into and effort you put into experimenting and improving your craft, improving your skills. So yeah, don't be limited by the 3 stages. I just wanted to split it up to make it as simple as possible and just break it down in simple format for you to look at. All right, so that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, leave it down below. And I think that's it. See you in the next video. Bye.